This is definitely going to be an interesting session. Mr. Sanjay Kumar is with us. Sir, without wasting any time, I would like to start by asking you that, ASER 2024 shows that government schools are improving in their basic reading and arithmetic skills from time in the last almost 20 years. For the first time, this has improved. What exactly is working out here, and where is it that we are gaining this momentum from? What is it that has changed here?
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. And you started with ASER report. And I would want to supplement that with what we do is that National Achievement Survey. We call it Parakh Rashtriya Sarvekshan. So we did it in November 2024 for classes 3, 6 and 9. 3 means that you've done 3 years of pre-primary classes and classes 1 and 2. So that is the end of the foundational stage. And we were very happy to see that the learning outcomes for the first time were better in the rural areas and for the government schools as compared to the urban and the private managed schools. It augurs well for us, and you asked me as to what has led to it. I think the National Education Policy 2020 has led to it. For the first time, pre-primary classes have become part of a policy. We've been doing it earlier, but never as a part of our policy. And I would want to tell everyone that there are 3 things: speaking, reading, and writing. And all 3 are different. Speaking is quite natural. There's a natural circuitry for speaking in the brain. You hear people speak and you learn to speak. But you can't see other people read and write and start writing or reading yourself. There is no natural circuitry for that in the human mind. You have to learn it. And this is what the National Education Policy says. And for that, the government has launched the Nipun Bharat Mission. That is, by the time you finish class 2, you should have proficiency in a language and should be able to do some number calculations. And what we are seeing is a result of Nipun Bharat Mission that our scores are becoming better, in spite of the fact that the COVID has been there, the pandemic has been there, but we've done well and we are excited about it.
So this is absolutely brilliant. I would like to also emphasize on how there needs to be, and the government has spoken about it before as well, that there needs to be a very smooth shift from a pre-primary to primary. We had seen that gap in the past, and the government is working towards it. What is it that what are the steps that the government had taken for this smooth transition for the students?
See, eventually 2 departments will have to work together. When you are 3 years of age, you are expected to be in a pre-primary class. And for most children across the country, the first place to go is the Anganwadis. And then after you've done a year or 2, or maybe 3 years in Anganwadi, then you come to class 1 at the age of 6. NEP also talks about teaching at right level. So by the time you come to class 1, you should be age 6. And I'm very happy to say that we've been working with these states, and almost 30 states and UTs have come out with a notification to that effect. The rest also, I'm quite sure, will do something about it. But then it is extremely important that whether you are in a pre-primary class in an Anganwadi or in a school, you must have undergone 3 years of pre-primary class. And when you come to class 1, irrespective of the pathway you may have taken to reach class 1, your learning outcomes should be commensurate. And that is why under the Nipun Bharat Mission, we have started something what we call a Vidya Pravesh. That is, in case if the child does not have commensurate learning outcomes, then this is a 3-month course which they do so as to reach a certain level. So the second point which I would want to mention is that we've been looking at it as to why Nipun Bharat Mission has succeeded. And 2 essential things have happened. One is that messaging has to be right. And the messaging has gone down the line that pre-primary classes is important. And the number two is funding. So when you are doing things, then you also need to spend a little money in providing learning and teaching material to the students and investing in the teachers who are part of it. And this, the Nippon Bharat Mission has done.
Sanjay sir, I'm sure there are not much challenges when it is about implementation of any policy when it comes to metro cities or tier 1 cities. But do you think that in smaller villages or let's say tier 3 cities, the challenge of implementation of NEP was a lot more, of course, than what you faced in the metros? And do I say that yes, it has been completely implemented now in the smaller cities as well, or do you think that it will take some more time? Slowly it is building up because it is difficult to actually implement that in the smaller cities?
Well, I wouldn't say that we have reached the same level. There are challenges, and there are different kind of challenges. For instance, there are government schools, then there are privately managed schools. There are schools in the urban areas, there are schools in the rural areas. Many of our schools in the rural areas are also very small schools. And what do I mean by small schools? Schools having very low enrollment, smaller number of students going there. So these challenges do exist, but I think we are investing in the teachers. And the teacher training for us has become extremely important. And for foundational literacy and numeracy, we are ensuring that our teachers pick up that extra expertise for the kind of pedagogy which is required in these schools. The challenges do remain, but as I mentioned, that the learning outcomes in the rural areas and in the government schools is showing better results than the urban as well as the privately managed schools.
Another important thing before you, the other speakers were there, and one of the questions that I asked was that, we talk about digitization, it is everywhere. The kids these days are glued to screens. We are talking about digital classrooms where it is important for children to also have that exposure to these videos and this easy access to learning, and how we also say that, video leaves a different impact altogether. You have been part of this institution where, you are framing policies. How do you see this? Because, I'm sure a lot of parents feel that the school is, showing too many videos and digitization is a little too much. How do you balance this out?
Well, a balance is always required in life. And I don't know what it means to make learning very easy. I mean, cognition has to be developed, understanding has to be developed, and a certain amount of effort to develop cognition always adds to it. It cannot be made very easy, I would say. I would say that yes, digital technology is important, but it can aid pedagogy. It cannot replace the teacher. Education is essentially, at younger age, an interaction process, a process of interaction between the teacher and the student. And the digital aid, technology, smart classes can supplement that. That always has to be kept in mind.
Okay, I would also like to talk about socio-emotional skills, because we are a lot into nuclear families these days. The kids are not spending much time with grandparents. I know that school has nothing to do with this, the education system has nothing to do with this, but do you feel that somewhere some curriculum or some activity or some training is required in schools to develop this socio-emotional skill as well in children so that they have a better future, they have a better tomorrow?
Absolutely. I think parents must decide that they're going to spend a lot of time with their children, or as much time they can. It also shows that children who spend a fair amount of time with their grandparents, they do better. But we must spend time with our children and not leave them with their own devices. That is extremely important, and it is affecting the mental health of children. We also find that the mental health is becoming more and more fragile. People are unwilling to stand up to a situation which is not to their liking. And that is something which is a little worrisome for us. Digital technology also ensnare you in many other ways. And if you see, one can see some kind of a pushback all around the world. Just some time back, Australia has banned social media till the age of 16. I would say banning or not banning, but the point is that some kind of a balance between how you learn is extremely important. So books are important, teachers are important, digital familiarity is also important, but maintain the balance.
Sir, what is that one change or I would say one difference that you see in students from metro cities to students who are in tier 2, tier 3 cities, or I would say rural areas? Do you think that, of course, the kids here have more exposure, but you see that gap being less because, you know, we are in the digital age and we have access to phones and all, and you think that is going to be good in the future?
Well, I don't see much of a gap. Children are children everywhere. They are curious. They want to know things. And I think for us who are part of policymakers, for parents, it is very important that we maintain that curiosity. Children will learn well. I don't see much of a difference.
Okay. Backstage, we were speaking about how you mentioned that, you know, reading is very, very important, and reading a book is very, very important, and that's the message that Sir wanted to give from the stage also, Sir. Would you like to say that?
Well, it is. I mean, I would want to say a few more things. The National Education Policy 2020 also says that you must learn, and you learn best in your mother tongue, the language which is spoken at home, or the local language. And in India, I think the question always remains, which language do you learn in? I always feel that if you go to a class and the teacher is speaking in a language which is different from what you have heard at home, it may be a little difficult to understand. We've been encouraging schools, we've been encouraging parents and teachers alike that learn in your language first, develop proficiency in one language, and that is what the Foundation Literacy and Numeracy is all about. And once you have a little proficiency in a language, then you can always pick up a second language or a third language. I would want to leave a question for the audience that should you learn English as a subject, or you should learn English as a medium of instruction? And I would say that learning English as a subject, it also gives you as much proficiency in English as you may do if your medium of instruction has been English.
Sir, at primary level, enrollment of girls have improved significantly over the years, but by the time they go to senior classes, especially again, I would like to talk about rural areas, that drop is still there compared to earlier years. Yes, it is better, but that is the government taking care of that, or I would say, are you planning to do something in the current year, or let's say in the coming years?
You know, Anuya, this country has changed. My challenge is, how do I bring each and every child in school? Not a single child should be out of school. And our endeavor is that once you come into a school, and then at least you must go up till class 12th. What is the challenge? The challenge is that out of every 100 children who are joining class 1, only about 60 are reaching class 12th. So we are losing 40 children on the way, and my challenge is to keep them. But if I look at the gender parity index between boys and girls, I find that irrespective of where you are in India, in the rural areas or urban areas, the gender parity index is a little more than 1. The more heartening part is that as you are climbing up and you are seeing the dropout rates for girls is lower than that of the boys. In fact, I am a little concerned that boys are dropping out faster than the girls. Every year when the board examinations are declared, irrespective of which board it may be across the country, girls are consistently outperforming the boys. Lesser distraction, more concentration, it could be many things. But our girls are doing well. My challenge is, how do I keep everyone in the school and ensure that they all do class 12th?
Sir, what is, and this is, as we are approaching to New Year, what is that one target, or I would say, what is that one aim for you as a Secretary Education that you're going to take care of in 2026?
You know, there was a time when we were worried about access. Today, by and large, most of the children are in school. The gross enrollment ratio for elementary classes in India is almost about 94%. That means out of every 194 children are in school. The real concern is, how do I ensure that their learning outcome improves? And it has to improve on a consistent basis. Every year we must raise the bench. That is the challenge before us. And for that, we require better teachers, we require better curriculum, we require aid by better forms of pedagogy, including digital. But we must improve learning outcomes, make our children curious, help them to think differently, develop a critical faculty, and then for that, the assessment needs to change. Because if I'm going to ask you a question which requires you learning by rote, then chances are that you would do that. But if I were to ask you a question which requires exercise of mind and development of critical faculty, then chances are that you will start exercising your mind in that particular way. So this is the challenge, and we are doing it.
Thank you so much, sir, for this conversation. Thank you so much.